Welcome to the Toastmasters Experience. My name is Evelyn. Get inspired by today's Toastmasters Insights. Enjoy the show. Yes, and welcome to another episode of the Toastmasters Experience. Now, I'm very excited today because I have in the studio Noni, who I'm going to talk to about Toastmasters. Welcome to the show, Noni.
Thank you.
Now, we're going to start at the beginning. What motivated you to join Toastmasters, and how long have you been a Toastmaster, and what clubs are you in?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I wasn't motivated at all. I was approached by a friend. I worked at UNICEF, the United Nations Children's Fund in New York, and she had been going through a really rough time, and she joined Toastmasters, and she was so enthusiastic about it. She came to me and said, "Noni, we have to start a Toastmasters club in UNICEF." And I said, "Are you crazy? Toastmasters? What the hell is Toastmasters?" And when she told me a little bit more about it, I said, to be honest with you, I don't want to sound like a used car salesman. I wanted just to be able to speak naturally. And she said, "Of course you will. I mean, there's people who want to be really dramatic and all the rest of it. And Toastmasters is a wonderful experience." So to cut a long story short, the head of human resources at the time said, "Okay." We held a demo meeting and we had 46 people sign up to join.
Oh, my.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
This was back in 1996 in New York City. And we got premises from UNICEF, and we started holding our meetings. Now, one man who came and joined the meeting, they joined Toastmasters a couple of months later, said the reason he was joining was that during the demo, he was called on to give a 1-minute table topic.
Uh-huh.
And he refused. He realised that he needed help, and he became an excellent Toastmaster after a couple of years. To me, the great thing about Toastmasters is that it doesn't push you too hard. It encourages, but it doesn't push. We've got this incredibly diverse, international group with all kinds of different attitudes toward even handshaking. The Toastmasters handshake is very American, very, very kind of Western.
Yeah.
And then all these non-Westerners, men and women in particular. As a woman, I'd extend my hand and the man in front of me would just bow very slightly. So you get the message. You realise that this is... By the way, Toastmasters staff was the first club in the UN system.
Oh, wow.
So I'm very proud of that.
Well, and it was, I guess, inaugurated, or it started in 96. Is that correct?
1996.
1996. Yes. And did it start with 46 members?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
I thought membership was no problem until I came to community clubs, because it's a different story. Community clubs.
Right. That's right.
It's harder to get the word out, and you have to. It really is a word of mouth.
Yeah.
And some advertising, of course, and getting some publicity.
Yeah. So people who are listening to this now, I'm sure they can hear an accent.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And so how did you end up in New York City from where you're originally from?
Would you like the 7-minute speech or the 27-minute?
Okay, let's do the 7-minute.
Maybe the 7 seconds. I got stuck. I was coming back to Australia because I had been a permanent resident here for a few years, and I was doing the thing that every Aussie does apparently, which is go travelling. And I got stuck in New York without any money. So I was told that the UN hired people and got them special visas. Was told by a friend the name of the personnel officer in UNICEF. So I went in, had an interview, and started as a secretary.
Okay.
The following Monday, and I was put to work for the most extraordinary woman who became a tremendous mentor, someone I admire so much, who's now in her 90s, and she's still agitating and working in the Philippines. She's a university lecturer as well as all the other social justice things that she does.
Yeah. So you were in New York. You started this UNICEF club, and how long were you in that club before you moved to Australia?
Oh, I didn't move to Australia until 2007.
Okay.
But we got ambitious, you see, because we decided, well, let's start a club at the UN proper. And so we got a group of people together, and we got another club started at the main UN building, which is across the road from the little UNICEF one. And that was very successful as well. I don't know what's going on now.
Yeah, of course. So how many members with the UN then?
Oh, it was smaller actually. There were about 30, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But that's a good
And
size club.
there were some people who arrived who were already so talented. That they would turn a 1 minute table topic into a vision.
Wow.
A mental vision for the listeners. It was very exciting. I want to share this lovely story about this beautiful Burmese young woman who was very Asian, very shy, the eyes downcast, not meeting your eye-to-eye contact. And I didn't know what her ulterior motive was, but she joined our UNICEF Toastmasters. Mm-hmm. And honestly, the first few months were really, really tough. It took her a long time to even do a table topic and then to do her introductory speech. And as you know, the introductory speech is the easiest thing to do because it's all about you. At the end of a year, this beautiful woman, different nationalities would often celebrate their day, and there was a Burmese National Day, and she emceed it. I couldn't believe it. There she is, going around with her microphone and organising everything.
Yeah.
And definitely she has Toastmasters to thank for that. Bringing out her hidden talents, basically. I moved out of Manhattan and Queens. Queens is where I lived because it was so much cheaper. And I moved up to the countryside and I joined the Toastmasters Club up there. And that was a community club. And that's where I began to understand the difficulties. Because, in fact, there was also another community club I helped start in Queens.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't see Toastmasters being a really big part of my life, but in reality, it has been.
It has.
It really has been. And when I decided to finally move back to Australia, the very first thing I did was check out whether there were any clubs in the Blue Mountains. And of course, there's this fabulous club in Katoomba, Blue Mountains Toastmasters. And they meet in the Carrington Hotel, which is this fabulous hotel where you just feel like royalty going in, and there's photographs of royalty on the walls.
That's
and
true.
Things like that.
Yeah.
And what I loved about it too is that you arrive as a stranger. I mean, I just have my sister here and her family. And within 2 months, I know 20, 30 people and have gotten to very friendly with a number of them as well, which is wonderful. And the other thing too about these community clubs is that you will meet people from all walks of life that you wouldn't meet in your normal day-to-day behaviours. And that is such an education.
So when you moved to the Blue Mountains and joined the community club, what sort of role did you take on, or what did you see was different with maybe the community clubs in Australia versus America? Is there a difference?
I haven't thought about that much. There's something about Toastmasters that kind of throws the same challenges to everybody regardless of where you're from. Yes, of course there were little differences. Yeah. Discovered that there was a much freer and easier
way in
Australia. In Australia.
Maybe it's just the Australian way. What did you learn in Toastmasters which has actually surprised you?
To listen. I don't know whether anyone has ever done any of these preferences, the Myers-Briggs preferences. And I belong to the group where you actually speak first and think later.
Okay.
So that's why learning to listen and to really try to take in what somebody is saying to you and not be coming up in your mind with your response. The fact it takes you a little bit longer to respond actually just shows that you've been deeply listening.
Being a part of Toastmasters for how many years? How many years has that been?
1996. It's nearly 30.
Wow.
28.
28 years.
Darn.
And what has been your highlight, though? What has been the highlight of your Toastmasters experience?
I think, even though I was once again pushed into it, kicking and screaming, I think when I came here to Blue Mountains Toastmaster, I met an amazing woman called Pamela. And Pamela said to me, "Why don't you have your DTM?" And I said, "Oh, for goodness sake, I'm not prepared to do all that work." I said, "No, you've got to do it." So she took me under her wing and she kind of guided me through the process. And I got my Distinguished Toastmaster Award, which, believe it or not, you can't help but be proud of it.
Oh, good.
Even though you're still learning, no matter how much every time you give a speech or every time you go into a competition. It's a new aspect, facet of it that you learn. Learn from.
So what sort of role do you like to do within Toastmasters? You know, some people like to compete, some people like to just lead, or what sort of role do you like?
I must admit, most times now, I've become a climate activist, which has given me an enormous amount of extra challenges, and I've joined many clubs and groups and started groups and all that kind of thing. So I, at this stage, actually just see Toastmasters as this kind of raft that I'm scuttling along or paddling along on as a great help in anything I do, so that when I'm asked to say something, I always have something to say. And that's very good because that's the experience. The table topics is such a simple little thing. You know, you literally, somebody makes a statement and then calls on anyone in the group to answer it. And you have 1 minute. You can go for 2 minutes, but you really should try to stay on your feet speaking relatively coherently for a minute about the subject. That is the greatest, wonderful practice, which has made its way into management studies and management development, where they call it the elevator conversation. The idea being that the CEO is in the elevator and you step in, and you only have, you should be able to say what you want to say in 30 seconds or so. So it's that kind of training that you have these 2 or 3 points you want to make, and you make them, and you hope you do it all with a smile, and he doesn't kick you out of the elevator.
I find table topics terrifying still after so many years.
Really?
I do. But it is. I think it's probably the one most beneficial practice in Toastmasters. And of course, I think evaluations, receiving that evaluation and not taking it personal, because it's not, it's not against you, the person. They just want you to improve and they want to support you.
And have a better speech.
That's right.
And that's one of the things that Toastmasters does also, is it gets you to give a speech.
Yeah.
And then you can do it again after you've gotten the feedback. And that's excellent. It's a really good idea, because it may not count in, the kind of credits you get for doing certain things, but it's very good. Very good.
So you just said you've become involved in a few organizations I'm assuming in the Upper Mountains for climate
And so many organizations have an environmental subgroup. The interfaith group, for example, has an environmental wing.
Okay.
The Older Women's Network, which I just love. I've met so many interesting older women there. They have a sustainability subgroup.
Okay.
I'm currently the CEO of the Blue Mountains Renewable Energy Co-op.
Do you think your experience, though, in Toastmasters, are you pretty much hired as the spokeswoman for the organization? No. Okay.
No, I'm the CEO of the co-op. I've been very lucky, after a rather fraught childhood, to have amazing experiences, because I travelled a lot. And working with UNICEF, they sent me overseas, only for short periods, maybe 3 weeks or 4 weeks at a time. I was never actually stationed in a country office of UNICEF's. But that was extraordinary, and I've about 100 stories I could tell if I was getting into my raconteur mode about what it was like going to the hot spots like Sarajevo and Eritrea and Darfur, places like that, to train staff.
So after you joined Toastmasters, though, do you feel that sort of directed your communication or the way you speak in like a more organized way? Or
yes, definitely. It's hard for somebody like me, because I tend to go off on tangents. When I'm speaking, I think of something that might be interested, and I bring that in. And then quite often, if you only have a certain amount of time, you're not able to have a good finish. And that's one thing Toastmasters emphasizes, is how important it is to have a challenging start and a resounding further
Finish.
challenging.
Yeah.
Basically, every time you finish a speech, basically you should be challenging people to do stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
You
basically.
should give them a call back or
Yeah.
something and
Yeah.
inspire them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's. I mean, you've had such a rich life, and I think that comes out with table topics. I've learned a lot about you through the years. You know, things we cannot share on this podcast, but quite fantastic stories. So now you're in your twilight years of your life.
Lovely, thank you. But you're absolutely right.
yeah.
I've been through a bit of a health crisis in the last year, and the thing that shocked me was, despite all my passion about the climate, I was far more passionate about myself.
Okay.
and just basically I'd not been able to move very well, made it very, very hard to do anything. But my energy levels sank so low.
Okay.
And now what's wonderful is post-operative, I'm getting back so much more of my energy, because
fantastic.
I think that's the most important thing, is if anything you're doing, bring your energy into it.
Yeah, yeah.
And you light up a room that way.
Exactly.
It's very interesting. And I mean, it's not, you're not being selfish or anything, but people respond when you're, when you're genuine with them.
Yes,
but at the same time, as alive as you can be.
Yeah. So we know that you're passionate about the climate and the environment. Is there any other sort of self-development that you're really into, that is into improving your, communication or being able to lead? Maybe a book you've read or podcast you've listened to? Yeah.
I must admit, for quite a few years, I was regularly on the Radio Blue Mountains with my friend Shirley Lewis around living as sustainably as possible.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that. I don't do very much like that. That is mainly writing and sharing. And one of the challenges now you've made me think about is that I really should become much more serious about using social media more effectively. Despite its flaws and the risks involved, I think I should.
Yeah, yeah.
I put something on Facebook a couple of weeks ago, and I'm getting a huge number of requests to become a friend. And the trouble is, I don't know any of these people, and it's hard to be sure that you can trust and accept.
Yeah.
So that's one of the problems is about these social media giants.
What is your sort of next thing that you're doing right now? So we know it's about the environment, but anything else? Is there anything else within Toastmasters?
Oh, within Toastmasters? Not really. Not really. I'm not in the local club anymore. I'm in an advanced club called Enhance. And it's a bit of a distance away, and I hadn't been able to go for a few months, so I feel a bit isolated from Toastmasters.
Yeah, yeah.
Except for that wonderful party that you ran, with the help of your friends, I'm assuming, in Toastmasters to celebrate.
Yes, our 35th
Blue Mountain's
anniversary.
30th anniversary.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful event. Yeah. And it was lovely seeing faces that I hadn't seen for a couple of years.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. I love that about Toastmasters. We do feel like a family. Like you said, we're not in each other's lives, but during that meeting we are, and we're there to support people, get their communication better. And
Oh, yeah. And some very genuine friendships have come out of it as well.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, Pamela.
Pamela, we're still...
Yeah.
she's great.
One thing I know, Noni, is that you've received your DTM. So there are leadership opportunities available within Toastmasters, which I feel people find that as a surprise. So how did you use your leadership within Toastmasters, or use it outside of Toastmasters?
Well, certainly over the years, I've been president, vice president, education. That's the hardest job, by the way. If ever anyone wants to talk you into it, it's a wonderful challenge, though, especially helping people work out when they'd be ready to do something and making sure that they get some help to do it, that kind of thing. I've been treasurer. I've been sergeant. I have done all the actual meeting roles a number of times.
Okay.
For meetings now, I tend to be a little lazy in the sense that I don't take on anything that requires a lot of preparation, except the occasional speech that I want to make. The speech format in Toastmasters doesn't quite meet my needs.
Okay,
Because what I want to do, and what I think is even more important, is to get on a level basis with people. So more having a chat, the kind of things that are called kitchen table conversations. So you're sitting with a group, and you might pose a question, but then everybody in the group is on the same kind of level. You're not talking at them.
Right,
You're working with them.
Okay,
And,
okay. Sort of like a panel or...
Oh, no,
not
nowhere
even
near,
like a panel.
nowhere near serious as a panel. It's totally relaxed. Kitchen table.
Okay,
I mean, you're literally there with a particular topic that everyone wants to talk about or be involved with or learn about.
And you were also area director, though, right? Is that correct? In Western...
I think, yes. I took on the area, and that, I have to say, I loved it.
Oh, did you?
But
Okay.
it involved travelling quite a bit because the area was rather large, and you had a commitment to go at least twice a year to each club. So and that's where you see where the personalities of the people in the club change the way the meeting goes, change the tenor of a meeting, and it's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
As I said, I love doing it, and I'd recommend it to anybody in Toastmasters.
Okay, and you needed to do that for your DTM. Is that correct? I think, or you have to do. I know you have to do a few things for your DTM. Is take sort of.
I think you're right. I think I was encouraged to put my hand up and do it, and I think I did it for 2 years. I mean, I really liked it.
Oh, good. Yeah, because I know that's sometimes a hard position to fill. Any sort of recommendation if someone is thinking about joining Toastmasters, what would you say to them?
I would say get in there and do it, join, and don't be too hard on yourself if you get up for the first table topic and you only last 30 seconds. We've had people who've only lasted 5.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, you could be a business person running your own life, running a good life, and a very effective life, and yet you join Toastmasters, and it's a whole new, different challenge, and it's so rewarding when you meet those challenges.
Yeah,
absolutely rewarding.
I think you're absolutely right.
I went to a talk once by a public speaker who said one of the things that people do is they're very hard on themselves. So when you get up, give your speech, when you go back to your seat, you spend the next few minutes congratulating yourself about all the things you did well, and wait for hours before you actually look at what you could have done better. Because there's too much of that. Oh, I didn't do this and I didn't do that, and not enough of, I'm so pleased
that I even got up,
that I did it.
Yeah.
Not just that, that you gave the speech.
This has been such a pleasure having you here today. Is there any other sort of advice that you could give about life?
Not really, except that I did get some feedback from my brother-in-law. Died recently, and there was the most beautiful memorial held for him on Saturday. And one of the guests who I saw a couple of days later said to me, you know, Noni, it's very interesting. You looked so competent, and you held yourself so well, and you spoke so well. You stood out. Oh, that was nice, because there were all this. I mean, as you can imagine, there was a lot of emotion.
Yes.
But I was. Good old Toastmasters, I said to myself.
Yes,
good old Toastmasters.
Oh, that is so lovely. Yeah. Thanks so much, Noni. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here today.
Loved being here. It was fun.
Thank you so much for your company. Please tune in next time to the Toastmasters Experience.